Hey there, race fans. It's Race Day Top 5 with me, Frank 5. Road course racing in the fine wine country that is Sonoma. The mountains are beautiful. The grapevines are spreading everywhere, growing grapes to prepare for making wine. And you get to have a sip of wine when you win at the famed Sonoma Raceway. And this weekend, we had a first-time winner, one that was way overdue to see in NASCAR. A foreign driver is new superstar in our sport. Let's talk about all that went down in wine country Sonoma. Number 1, Daniel Suarez. Yes, Daniel Suarez, the former NASCAR Xfinity Series champ of 2016, is at long last a NASCAR Cup Series winner as he captured his first Cup win, winning yesterday's Toyota SaveMart 350 at Sonoma Raceway, holding off Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, Kevin Harvick, and Austin Cindric for the victory. Daniel Suarez this season, let's say he's taken a step up in his performance with Trackhouse Racing, a team that he joined last year after pretty much playing, pretty much being the wild card as far as going from different team year after year after year after year, and found a home with the team last year and had some decent runs. And this year, it started the season with some nice top 5, top 10 runs and finishes. Unfortunately, recently they've had a couple of lackluster runs, despite being one of the best cars at the Coke 600, a race that I felt like they would have won. Well, yesterday at Sonoma, they ran top 10 pretty much the entire race, stayed in the top 5, didn't really make a lot of noise, and then come the final stage on the restart to start the final stage, he took the lead from Chris Buescher and never looked back. He was just playing it perfectly. He was just manhandling the race car, doing a great job, not pushing the limit on the car, especially in the corners and the S's and all the turns and everything. He did a phenomenal job, and he had a solid pit stop. Even when we had a late race caution, we had to restart the race. He had a great restart, and he never looked back and picked up his first career Cup win in his 195th start. He had his club out there, Daniel's Amigos, his fan club. They were so excited to see him, and he was very emotional because it's been a long road for this guy. He came up to NASCAR in 2014, driving a couple of races for the Xfinity Series and Truck Series, then transitioned to full-time Xfinity racing and part-time truck racing in 2015. He had a couple of good results in some of those races that year. In 2016, he was still driving the Xfinity Series and got his first Xfinity Series win at Michigan, beating Kyle Busch in the spring. And then later in the season, would continue to have solid run after solid run and won another race at Dover. And he would go on to win the finale at Homestead, where he also became the first foreign driver to win a NASCAR championship in the Xfinity Series. And he did a great job. And then his promotion to the big time came when Carl Edwards, out of the blue, retired before the start of the 2017 season. Suarez moved up to the 19, and a lot of people felt like this guy, after winning a championship, he did prove it, but he probably is getting rushed, which he probably did. But for his rookie year, despite a couple of DNFs, he did really solid, getting 12 top 10s that season. Even though he didn't win Rookie of the Year, honestly, he was still fairly consistent. Second year with Joe Gibbs Racing didn't go so well, and that led to him being let go of the team in favor of Martin Truex Jr. He was able to pick up a ride with Stewart-Haas Racing after they let go of Kurt Busch. Suarez stepped into the 41, had some good runs to start the season, unfortunately fell short of the playoffs, and was unfortunately let go. So he was left without a job before the 2020 season until he partnered up with Gaunt Brothers Racing. Now, they weren't the best choice available, but they were at least a team he could drive with for the time being until he could find another ride down the road. Well, their tenure did not get off to a good start when they missed the Daytona 500. Then they struggled at Vegas, where they had an engine failure early on and then got back in it later. But for the most part, 2020 was a year to forget for Suarez, where he didn't run well. But then later in the year, it was announced that he would be driving one of the new teams in Trackhouse Racing with Justin Marks and Ty Norris, and eventually Pitbull. And he drove for them in car number 99, had some decent runs in some of the races last year, didn't make the playoffs, but still had some good runs. And this year, he's been very solid at some of these races, fell back in points, but now with this win, he is now a NASCAR Cup Series winner, and he's officially launched into the playoffs. So congrats to Trackhouse Racing, who week in and week out continue to keep impressing the Cup Series community. When they, as a new team, relatively new team, second year, we felt like they were going to struggle, but this year, they're rock stars. They've got 3 total wins, 2 at Chastain and now 1 with Daniel Suarez. This is a team that we're going to continue to look forward to the rest of this year and for years to come. So once again, congrats to our amigo, Daniel Suarez, on your first Cup Series victory. Number 2, Chris Buescher, second place finish. Very impressive for a dude that did not run last week in the Gateway. So the last time we saw Chris Buescher, he was flipping in the Coke 600 in a wreck with Daniel Suarez, believe it or not. He flipped it. It took them 8 minutes to get him out of the car. He got out under his own power, thankfully. But then the next week at Gateway, he did not show up because he tested positive for COVID, and due to the COVID guidelines from the CDC, he did not race, and they put Zane Smith behind the wheel, and he got a top 20 out of that. So Buescher was on the couch. He came back this weekend, and right off the bat after he got back in the car, he was fast. He was good in practice, qualified third, led a lot of laps at the front, stayed close to the guys that he was battling for the lead for the most part, like Daniel Suarez, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, all those guys. Buescher ran a solid race yesterday. I mean, I've not known Chris Buescher to be a good road course racer. I know he won the 2015 Xfinity race in Mid-Ohio, but that was 7 years ago, and that was Xfinity, and he was in Roush equipment, which back then was very competitive in the Xfinity series. But now, with RFK equipment that he was in, he ran great yesterday. Yes, he was disappointed in finishing second, but to come off of not racing the previous week because he tested positive for COVID, and to bounce back and get second place at Sonoma, very technically advanced road course, that's a great result for Chris Buescher. And by the way, he did get a playoff waiver after missing that race, so he is eligible to make the playoffs should he win a race. He's going to have to win more than likely because he's not going to make up the points deficit, especially with the Suarez win. It gets tougher and tougher to get into the playoffs on points right now. And honestly, at this rate, we might have more than 16 winners this year, who knows. But Chris Buescher, nonetheless, a good performance by him and the team yesterday. Number 3, Ford's behind him in third and fourth. Solid runs. Michael McDowell, who had a great day at Gateway last weekend, not the finish, but he led 34 laps and was relatively in the top 10 the entire day. Backed it up with a nice top 5 run at Sonoma this weekend with a third place finish, and he was up front for the majority of the day. And Michael McDowell, he's been known to be a solid road course racer throughout his career. He's had good road course runs, maybe not necessarily the finishes, but sometimes the runs and maybe at times the finishes do benefit him. And he ran up front legitimately the entire day yesterday. He had a good race car. Not a winning car. They were good for the short runs. Long runs, that was their Achilles heel. But a great run for a team that, honestly, he's putting together, the statistic-wise, the best statistics season he's ever had. Excluding last year, I know he won the Daytona 500, but he's putting together the best statistical season of his career this year. So a great job by Hendrick Motorsports and his new crew chief, Blake Harris. He's done a great job for them. And Kevin Harvick, who off a terrible finish at Gateway last week, rebounded with a nice run at Sonoma. Of course, he won this race 5 years ago driving a Ford. He ran up in the top 10 pretty much all day yesterday, had a good race car, and he finished a nice top 5 finish. However, with the Suarez win, he's still outside the playoff grid by 7 points. But that could be made up if he runs well these next 2 races, or make it better, win a race. I think it can still happen for Kevin Harvick. A run like this can get him some momentum as we get ready to head into the summer stretch of races, where it's going to be brutal for some of these guys as they're fighting to get a win, now with 12 different winners. Kevin Harvick's going to have to more than likely win a race, unless if he can point his way in and make sure that nobody else knew below him in points wins a race. That's what's most important for Kevin Harvick right now. But he had a great run yesterday, him and Michael McDowell. Number 4, Hendrick Motorsports. Top 2 dogs on the road course didn't close the deal yesterday. Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott both started on the front row and looked to be the best cars at the beginning of the race. Kyle Larson dominated stage 1, won stage 1. In stage 2, he sacrificed track position for winning that stage, and he sacrificed track position for stage 2 and tried to fight his way back to the front. While he was doing that, Chase Elliott, his teammate, was out front leading a lot of the laps, and looked like he was the guy to beat, even with Chris Buescher hounding him. Elliott was strong. Well, towards the end of stage 2, when everyone was making green flag pit stops, Chase Elliott left the pit, but the crew told him to back up because they didn't get the lug tight on the left rear wheel. Well, sadly, the front of the car, the splitter part, was on the line, which meant he pitted out of the box, and therefore he had to restart the tail end of the longest line to start the final stage. And him and Kyle Larson had to try to battle back. Larson got all the way up to the top 10. Elliott tried to fight his way back into the top 20 in the middle of stage 3, but then after another round of green flag pit stops, Kyle Larson's team didn't tighten the lug on the right front or left front wheel. I think it was the left front wheel, and therefore, because the wheel fell off, it's a 4-race suspension for Cliff Daniels, which definitely sucks for the 5 team. Despite all that, Larson was able to put on a new tire, and he rebounded to finish 15th. Elliott was able to rebound and get a nice 8th place finish, which Sonoma has not been his best road course because it's, again, a technically advanced road course. But for him to rebound and get a top 10 finish after the pit mistake that they had, I'd say that's a good comeback and, the best way to make up for a day that could have been a lot better and maybe could have resulted in a win. But, the Hendrick guys, again, they kind of had their struggles, but they kind of did get some good runs at the end. I mean, as I mentioned, Elliott 8th place finish. William Byron finished 9th. Larson finished 15th. Bowman was 18th, although he had a chance to get top 10, but on that last restart, he was involved in an incident with Kyle Busch. So kind of an up and down day for Hendrick, but the top 2 guys, had issues, but they were able to overcome and make the best out of it. And number 5, the racing at Sonoma. This is, again, a technically advanced road course, and it's kind of tough to pass on. There wasn't a whole lot of passing in the pack as far as when we got into long runs, but on short runs and the restarts, they were fun and they were eccentric to watch, especially with the old configuration that we brought back with the down run to turn 4 and then the sharp right-hander all the way down to turn 7A, where there's a nice curve angle there. There was a couple of passing opportunities in there, guys giving each other a couple of bumps and runs. There wasn't necessarily a whole lot of spins over there, despite the Kyle Busch spin. But nonetheless, I mean, it's still a tough road course, honestly, to pass on it. Back then, a couple years ago, it used to be really fun racing to watch at Sonoma. It's kind of dwindled over the years, but I still feel like that the next-gen car made the best out of it yesterday. But these guys also had problems tightening their lugs on pit road. I mean, these guys, had problems, taking a long time to get those lugs, whether it's left rear, left front, right front. They had a problem with it yesterday. Not just 2 or 3 guys, a lot of guys. So they got to work on this, especially when they go to the next road course at Road America in a couple of weeks. Also yesterday was the final broadcast for NASCAR on Fox for the 2022 season, as Mike Joy, Larry McReynolds, and Tony Stewart called yesterday's race. They did a really good job, and there was good chemistry in the booth. Of course, Smoke, kind of fitting to bring him in. He started the season announcing the Busch Clash and the Daytona 500, and he closes the Fox season as a guest analyst, and it's fitting at the track where he got his last career Cup win in 2016, that thrilling finish with Denny Hamlin. But Clint Boyer was not able to be at this race due to personal stuff, so whatever Clint has got going on, I hope it's going well, and I hope Clint's okay right now. But it was a good season, I think, for Fox with this next-gen car and all these new winners and fun races that we've had and the great action on the track, the drama on the track and all that. It was just so much fun to watch Mike Joy, Clint, Larry Mack, Chris Myers, Shannon Spake, Jamie McMurray, Jamie Little, Vince Welch, Regan Smith, Michael Waltrip, Bobby Labonte. They all did a great job this year, and a special shout out to all the guest analysts they've had. There's a lot of them, of course. Tony Stewart was one of them, Jeff Gordon, Chad Canals, Matt Kenseth, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. for Talladega. That was a lot of fun. It was good to have all these guest analysts. DW, we got DW out of retirement to call the Bristol Dirt Race on Easter Sunday. That was pretty special. Just a good rotation of guest analysts for the Cup Series for NASCAR on Fox here. So thanks to NASCAR on Fox for a great 2022 season. And with that being said, as the Fox season closes, it's now time for NBC to take over the reins from the green flag at Nashville Superspeedway in 2 weeks to the checkered flag at Phoenix, where we will crown a champ. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte, and the rest of the NBC gang will take it over from here. So we have off next week, so the drivers and the teams get a little week to just relax, not get on the road, just relax, take a step back, and think about what's gone right for us so far, what's gone wrong for us so far, how can we change it, and then we'll get back to action in 2 weeks when we go to Nashville Superspeedway, where Kyle Larson dominated last year's race. Will he dominate again this year? We shall see. Will Trackhouse Racing, who's kind of reside there, win with Chastain or Suarez, who will try to aim for his second career Cup win? Time will tell. I look forward to NBC carrying us for the rest of the season starting in Nashville in 2 weeks. I'm looking forward to that. I hope you all have a wonderful week, an off week. Subscribe, like, and congrats once again to our amigo Daniel Suarez on his first NASCAR Cup win. Congrats, amigo, and welcome to the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs in 2022. Hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go racing, amigos!